Hi, I'm Amanda, the webmaster for WalkingTheLethe.com and also the blogger for FallenKitten.com. And I'm excited to let you all know that we are working on our first compilation for Walking the Lethe, the webcomic. We're putting the first 4 chapters into a softcover print book with a color cover, gray scale interiors, just like the comic is online. And it's our first book, and so I wanted to share with you a series of videos that'll cover our process as we go through it. So today, I wanted to talk about the parts of the book that you might want to include besides your comic. Everybody knows that books have more than just the comic itself in it, or just the chapters of a book. There's lots of other information that you need to include. And so I thought that I'd share with you my process. First, I went hunting online, and through the power of Google, found an excellent article from thebookdesigner.com called An Unabridged List to the Parts of the Book. And this is a massive list for novelists and nonfiction writers of all the different kinds of sundry pages that you could include surrounding your text. Now, of course, it's not aimed for comics, but it's a good place to start if you want to know kind of what order things are supposed to come in, or how a traditional publisher would expect to see things placed, what you really need to include and what you really don't. So it was a good place to start. And then I went and looked at my collection of graphic novels, both from webcomic creators and from traditional publishers, to decide what they're including to pick out what we're including. So let me show you some examples. I started with Templar, Arizona, which is a good webcomic. You should check it out. And Spike has got a pretty minimalist style with her extra pages. As you can see, she has included a title page, title, subtitle of course, author name, publisher, and then she's also included a copyright page. Now, I would consider those to be the 2 bare minimum pages that you need to include with your book, which is nice because it's just one extra sheet of paper you have to include. But the title page is sort of expected and also gives people a break before they get into your comic. And the copyright page is valuable because it has information like your copyright policy. You can offer credits for your cover artist or your designer, whatever, what have you. And also gives you a place to put your ISBN, which you should really consider having if you're going to publish a book. But we'll get into that some other day. In the back, after the comic, Spike has included some extras, which I think is a special comics thing. Especially with webcomics, we like to include some extra stuff at the back because otherwise you could just read the comic online for free. You know, I know you don't buy the book just because you can't get it. That's not the point of webcomics, of course. But it's nice to get a little bit of extra stuff. So in the back of Spike's book, she's included a comic, a little extra story that's not available online, or at least wasn't when the book came out, I'm not sure. Some footnotes, where she talks about her process, about drawing the characters, sometimes a little bit about the characters themselves, and also a few sketches, which are always just fun to see if you like to look at the process that artists go through. So, and about a little blurb about the artist, which always nice to have, especially for your readers who are not going to find you online, because sometimes people find you just in print. The other webcomic that I looked at, his book, was Dirk's book for Paradigm Shift. This is part 1 of his story. And he has a few more pages in it than Spike does. We have, again, the title page. Sort of a part page, because he has a different organization for his chapters than other people do. The copyright page, and a nice little dedication. And then an epitaph of the definition of paradigm shift, which is, of course, the title of the book, and gives people a little lead-in, a little taste before they dive into reading the story. After the comic, he has also included a lot of extras, especially in this first one, including character profiles, footnotes, again, and a nice article about the process of drawing, which again, for people like me who really love to see this kind of thing, it's sort of how he sketches it and the materials he uses, photos so that he uses to make sure that it feels like it's based in the right place, that sort of thing. A really good section of the book. He also has an afterword and acknowledgments at the back of the book and a little about the author. So there's a lot more stuff in this one. But it all fits really well and it works with the tone of his book very nicely. Finally, I had to include an example from traditional publishing, and so I have a copy of Neil Gaiman, one of the Sandman books. And there's a ton of stuff included in this book. There's a large team, of course, that goes into making the Sandman books, or went into making the Sandman books, and so they've included a lot of material. And it's not always easy to find out either because it's very designery. But we have like title page here, or perhaps that's the title page, and the copyright page again, a list of everybody who's worked on the book, editors, artists, production people, everybody. An introduction. Neil Gaiman always writes really interesting introductions, or has really interesting people write them for him. And then in the back, he has included an afterword, so even more writing, and a who's who to really point home about the people who worked on this book. Again, they have a large team, and so you got to include everybody. And that's really important. And of course, if you've written books before and published them before, it's always nice to have a library, a list of the books that you've already made, so that people, once they've read one, know where to go find you for the next one. So those are the ones that we use as an example. Of course, Walking the Lethe is only on its first book, so we don't really have a library in the back of our book. But we will be including the URL, and like Paradigm Shift and Templar Arizona, it's really important for webcomics to include their URL, otherwise people aren't going to be able to find your online work after they've found your print work. It goes both ways. For Walking the Lethe, we've decided to include a title page and a copyright page, which again I think is the bare minimum you got to include. We have an acknowledgement page because there's been a lot of people who have helped us out and worked with us, taught us things we didn't know about making comics and about making webcomics. And we also are including an epitaph, which will help bring people into the tone of the story a little bit before they get going. It's like a little appetizer. A little bit about the myth of the River Lethe, because we found after we named the story that not a lot of people are actually familiar with the myths. Within the comic itself, we are having chapter headers, which will allow us to use the cover art that is used online. We're going to obviously have to put it into grayscale, but because it's printed online in sort of 24-page chapters, it was important to us to be able to break those up so that people could have a good feeling of where one ended and where the next one began. In the back, we are going to be including footnotes and sketches, just like the other two books that I pointed out to you today. And we are also going to have a section about the author and the artists, because we have two artists who worked on this book. Sam Ireland, who did the first two chapters, and Adwar, who has done the second two chapters in this book and is continuing to draw and create the comic online. So that is basically what we're including in the book. I hope that that gives you an idea of what you might want to do when you're ready to publish your book, at least maybe for a long-form comic. Although I think that if you have a humor or a strip, these are kinds of things that you're going to want to consider too. I hope that you'll stop by walkingthelethe.com, take a look at the comic, take a look at our pre-order, and if you're interested, the pre-order is going until September 19th, and the book is being sold right now for €15, plus shipping and handling. We're in the Netherlands, but we will ship to the United States. You just got to pay shipping. So, thank you for listening. Check out our webcomic, walkingthelethe.com, and pre-order the book if you want. Thank you. Bye-bye.